You've probably seen warplanes in movies, sleek, roaring jets that slice through the sky like lightning. But what if I told you that in the middle of a modern drone war, one of the biggest surprises came from a tiny, old-school propeller plane that looks more like something you'd learn to fly on a weekend? Yeah, meet the Yak-52, a cheerful little bird that somehow found itself hunting Russian drones. It sounds almost funny at first. Picture this: sleek metal drones buzzing across the sky, armed with advanced tech, and suddenly, here comes a small, two-seater plane with a vintage vibe. Its engine humming like a tractor on wings. The pilot's not a hardened fighter ace. He's an older guy who once flew for fun. And behind him sits a young gunner who learned to shoot and fly at the same time. Together, they've become one of the most unusual and effective drone hunting teams in the air. Their mission is simple, but not easy. The moment a drone is spotted on the radar, these two run toward their Yak-52 like it's an old friend calling for help. Within minutes, they're airborne, racing toward the target. No fancy radar, no missiles, just quick reflexes, radio guidance from the ground, and a steady aim. And here's the crazy part: they've already taken down dozens of drones. Some with bullets, some by literally tipping the drone's wing mid-air, sending it tumbling down. It's a mix of courage, humor, and pure skill. The kind of story that makes you ask, how can a plane older than most pilots outsmart modern machines? Hold on, because what happens next takes this story from funny to unbelievable. Now let's meet the real heroes of this story. Two Ukrainians who turned an old trainer plane into a weapon of pure creativity. The pilot is a 56-year-old man everyone calls Maestro. Before the war, flying was just his hobby. He used to take to the skies on weekends, not to fight, but to feel free. The man simply loved the sound of the engine and the open air. Then the invasion came, and that peaceful hobby became something much more serious. Behind him sits Ninja, a 38-year-old gunner who had never even touched a cockpit before the war. Imagine that, a guy who learned to fly and fight at the same time. He's the one holding the gun in the back seat, eyes sharp, always scanning the sky for the next target. Their teamwork is strange, but perfect. One guides the plane like a dancer in the air. The other keeps his focus on a moving dot hundreds of feet away, a Russian drone. Their ride? A Yak-52, a Soviet-era training aircraft that once taught young pilots the basics of flight. It was never meant for combat. No armor, no radar, no missiles, just a propeller, two seats, and guts. Yet this little machine has become a nightmare for drones. When an enemy drone appears on Ukrainian radar, Maestro and Ninja get the call. Within 15 minutes, they're in the air. No fancy helmets or high-tech displays, just radio instructions guiding them toward the invisible threat. As they close in, Ninja grips his German-made MK-55 rifle, wind roaring in his face, heart pounding. Their missions feel more like improvised adventures than traditional warfare. And somehow, these two men in a humble Yak-52 have already brought down dozens of enemy drones. But the real thrill begins when they actually spot one. And that's where our story takes off next. The moment the drone appears on the horizon, the calm turns into chaos. Maestro grips the controls, his eyes locked on a faint shadow flickering against the clouds. The Yak-52's old engine growls louder as he pushes it forward. The airframe rattles, the propeller cuts through the air, and the chase begins. Ninja, sitting in the open rear cockpit, squints against the wind. There's no radar, no laser guidance. Just a voice crackling in the headset. Target 2 o'clock, moving east. He leans out slightly, scanning the endless sky. Then he spots it, a small dark speck gliding steadily. "Got it!" he shouts. Maestro tilts the plane slightly, lining up with the target. The Yak-52 may be old, but it's agile, fast enough to match the Russian Orlan drone's speed. Ninja steadies his MK-55 rifle, breathing slow, every bump of turbulence shaking his aim. Then, tat-tat-tat. Short bursts of fire echo in the open air. The smell of gunpowder mixes with engine oil. Tracers fly across the sky. The drone jerks, tries to climb, to escape, but Maestro isn't letting go. He swings the Yak around, chasing it in tight circles. "Hold steady," he yells. Ninja fires again, closer this time. A sudden spark flashes from the drone's wing, then smoke. The small machine spirals down like a wounded bird. Sometimes they don't even shoot. When the angle's too sharp or ammo's low, Maestro dives in and nudges the drone's wingtip, a risky move borrowed from old World War tactics. "It's like hitting a mosquito with your car mirror," Ninja jokes later, and just like that, another drone falls. No missiles, no fancy tech, just two men, one old plane, and unbelievable nerve. But their biggest danger isn't the drones. It's what waits for them next. Every time Maestro and Ninja take off, they know it might be their last flight. The Yak-52 wasn't built for war. It has no armor, no warning systems, and certainly no defense against missiles. Yet, these two climb into it almost every day, flying toward the sound of danger. One evening, while chasing an Orlan drone near the front lines, something unexpected happened. The drone wasn't alone. As Maestro maneuvered the Yak for a clear shot, a sudden flash streaked through the clouds. A surface-to-air missile was locked on them. "Missile, dive!" Ninja screamed. Without hesitation, Maestro yanked the plane into a steep descent. The tiny Yak shuddered violently as it dropped, the G-forces pressing them deep into their seats. The missile flew past, exploding harmlessly above. "We're still alive," Ninja laughed breathlessly, his voice shaking. "Barely," Maestro replied. "Even when they're not in the air, the danger follows them home. Their base has been targeted more than once. In one brutal attack, a missile struck their hangar, destroying one of their Yak-52s and killing their commander. The loss hit hard. These planes aren't just machines to them, they're family." Still, Maestro and Ninja refused to quit. The next morning, they were back by their remaining Yak, tightening bolts, checking oil, and getting ready for another sortie. "If we don't fly, who will?" Maestro said quietly. Their courage isn't loud or dramatic. It's the quiet kind, the kind that shows up every single day despite the fear. They're fighting a war with tools never meant for battle, yet somehow they keep winning. But what keeps them going? What pushes them to climb into that fragile plane again and again? That's where the heart of this story truly lies. There's a moment just before takeoff when Maestro always looks up, a silent glance at the endless sky that's become both his battlefield and his peace. Beside him, Ninja checks his rifle one last time, nodding like they're about to start another regular day at work. But deep down, both know it's anything but regular. They're not flying billion-dollar jets. There's no radar, no guided missiles, no backup escort, just a modest Yak-52 built decades ago to train beginner pilots, now holding the line against swarms of enemy drones. It shouldn't work, but it does. Together, Maestro and Ninja have flown hundreds of missions. They've shot down drones that cost 10 times more than their aircraft. They've turned a training plane into a symbol of resistance. Every flight they take proves one thing: courage and creativity can sometimes outmatch technology. People often ask, why risk it? Maestro smiles when he hears that. Because those drones are aimed at homes, schools, and families, he says. If we can stop even one, it's worth it. Ninja just laughs and adds, and besides, who wouldn't want to shoot drones from a plane? Their story has spread quietly, whispered among soldiers and villagers alike. Kids point at the sky when they hear the Yak's humming engine. They call it the drone eater. And maybe that's what they've truly become. Not just pilots, but legends. Proof that bravery doesn't need new machines, only determined hearts. As the sun sets over the fields, the small Yak-52 lifts once more into the golden light, its engine echoing across the horizon. Somewhere out there, another drone is waiting, and two men, an unlikely duo, are already on their way to hunt it down. And that, my friends, is how two Ukrainians in an old-school Yak-52 turned drone hunting into an extreme sport. Seriously, no radar, no missiles, just courage, caffeine, and a very patient airplane. If you enjoyed watching these two legends take down high-tech drones with pure skill and maybe a bit of luck, then don't just sit there, hit that like button like Ninja hitting a drone mid-air. Subscribe before Maestro shows up in your backyard doing barrel rolls, and share this video with that one friend who still thinks propeller planes can't win wars. Because let's be honest, after this story, even your old school fan looks powerful. So go on, smash that like, drop a comment, and I'll see you in the next crazy story from the skies.